Hello, my name is Amir Moghadam, and I'll be discussing the problem-solving facilitation six-step model. I am here with.
Omar.
Zach?
Rowan.
Do you guys have a problem today?
Yes.
Yes, we're trying to get straight A's in our university. That's our main problem right now, and it's very tough nowadays.
And get a 4.0 for the next school quarter.
Yeah. Basically, straight A's, get good grades in school. That's a good discipline. Our problem is, suffering with not getting those grades, but working to find out how to do that consistently.
Is there a situation in need of attention addressing this problem?
I would say focusing on school instead of being distracted with things like work and friends.
And for people who don't work, I think procrastination is a huge issue that many students have nowadays. Um,
Procrastination and then just staying focused. Like being able to not be so distracted with like smartphones or whatever, or being able to just manage time better.
I think a lot of mistakes that students have is like time management. It's another huge problem that's very hard to actually do. To manage your time is very difficult.
And sometimes, like in the beginning of the quarter, you're very motivated, but then when it's the middle of the quarter, you become a little bit bored and less motivated.
To each of you personally, what do you think is at the root of this problem?
I would say that it's just that most of the time I feel like I would rather be doing other things than doing my homework.
For me, it's like when I have a whole bunch of free time, like especially during the beginning of the quarter, I tend to, instead of utilize that time to study, I tend to like waste it and do extracurricular activities that I shouldn't be doing, as opposed to studying and getting ahead, which is what I should be doing.
For me, the problem is probably just starting. Sometimes like hanging out with friends or like watching a movie or watching a thing on my phone or something is so immediate. But taking your homework takes like discipline. Like it's kind of like the gym. The hardest part is actually going there. So for me, that's probably at the root of the problem is stay focused and doing well in school.
For all three of you, would you say procrastination is the root of this problem?
I think I would agree. Procrastination is the root because, like I said, most of the time I feel like I'd rather be doing something else. So I put my schoolwork like at the bottom of my list, but I do it fast enough to where I'm not like it's not late, but the quality is not as good as if I did it early because then I'd be able to look over it and change things and make it better.
I also think I'm going to use an analogy. I think procrastination is like the gateway drug. If you have it, it'll lead you to a whole bunch of distractions. If you have that trait, you'll eventually do all the other bad traits that come with it.
Yeah, I'd also agree that procrastination is the root of the issue.
Besides procrastination, do you think are there any outside factors that can go along with it? Because we're talking about how procrastination is affecting you school-wise. Do you believe that procrastination is just something you have as a habit over the years, or is it just something that occurs? What are your thoughts?
It's a good question. I think I heard a quote once said like the first half of your life you make your habits, the second half of your life your habits make you. So I think at this point, being at the college age, by this point we've sort of built a habit or been able to get by with certain disciplines. So I think the outside factor there would just be habit and sort of like molding a new one after another one has been hardened. But aside from that, again, it would just be procrastination.
I also agree with him because I think high school is probably the biggest reason for bad habits because high school is probably really easy, too easy in this country, to the point where you build these bad habits of just trying to pass the classes and you don't even have to make that much effort in high school and you'll get A's. So I think all the bad habits for me were developed in high school and it's still very hard to change them because you're so used to just getting by and getting A's. But in college, it's completely different. It's like you can't just get by and get A's. It's impossible.
That's a good question, too.
What are the parameters of this problem, you believe?
Probably that, I guess like by parameters you mean like the limits of it or?
Yes.
I think Thanks for the clarification there. Probably in that, like with schoolwork or whatever, a lot of times you sort of like justify other like doing well in school. You sort of like part of it is like socially or that stuff. So I guess the parameter of it would be like just specifying on the work, like actually what's turned in, and like what you get on that. I know it sounds vague, but I'm trying here. Um, yeah, I guess that's the best way I could try to answer it, right? Like, sort of like it's just the result of like not doing the work, but actually the quality of work is like
The quality of
focusing
work
on
is
it.
which affects his year.
Yeah. That's the best way I could answer that.
Are we the type of group who should address this type of problem?
Definitely, because we're all in college, so this is a really big deal for everybody here. And even though a couple of us are coming really close to graduating, it would be great to have a 4.0 GPA for a quarter before we graduate, because that would boost our GPA a lot.
I also agree that we should work and maybe join different clubs or join some form of union that helps address problems like these. I'm sure there's some at school. At my school, there's like a place called CAPS where I think it's like for psychological help, and they help you, I'm sure, with like dealing with procrastination, time management, all these problems. And they have a professional that, I mean, we just have to utilize these different things that we also haven't utilized because of just different factors like procrastination. So I think
Laziness too.
yeah, laziness is a huge part. It comes with procrastination.
So we're all in agreement that the problem of getting A's and doing well in school, and the large factor of that is procrastination. Do you believe there's a process that you guys can select on and agree on a solution for this problem to the extent of your capabilities to enact?
I think, yeah. I think that thinking of a plan would be a really good idea. I think it's very doable, and it would be good to think of something and then try it out for a quarter and see how it goes. But I do think that it's something that can be fixed, and I do think it's something that can be done.
I think one solution we can do is maybe at the beginning of the quarter, after you see your schedule, see your work schedule, see all your schedules, you make like a weekly, schedule of how to manage your time. So you don't you could put aside free time and you just make it for 1 week because you know how your week is like. So you make it for 1 week and you disperse your time and you manage it to the point where you have your extracurricular time and then you have your study time and you can't change. You have to stick to that schedule. I think that's a pretty good solution.
Yeah, for me personally, I think kind of like what they both said. It's probably just building a habit using the resources available. But building the habit is probably the smartest thing that you could tangibly do. It's kind of like, like a lot of times we procrastinate and then the last night we'll study or we'll do the homework before. So it's kind of like going to the gym. You don't work out once a week for 6 hours. You work out for like an hour or two a few times. So I think building that momentum, that's probably advantageous. Like like no matter what, I'll do my homework from 6 to whatever 7 or 6 to 8 or build blocks of time and just condition yourself to do it.
And it's important to stay consistent. That's probably the main.
Consistency is everything.
Consistency.
Everything.
Which is also very difficult, but
yeah.
If you can manage it, then that's the best solution.
Yeah.
Since we've talked about the problem criteria and we've addressed what the problem is there possible solutions to this problem? Like, what will be the characteristics of good solutions to beating this problem?
I think the easiest thing, the thing that would make the most sense to me is to actually go along with the class with all the readings that are being assigned as you go, to actually do them. And I know that almost like the majority of the class does not read like every week. But if people did read every week, then by the time it's time for exams, they would just have to review. But the majority of students that I know, they're reading that material for the first time when it's time to just review it.
I know for a fact that people who do get straight A's, as she said, they already, they don't even have to study for finals or midterms. They just do reviewing, because what they did is they learned during the quarter, which is actually pretty surprising. Most students don't. They cram everything the week or the learn new things. They learn what's on the final the day before. So like that's pretty common in our in studying habits. People like to cram. That's very common. Um, and as she said, reading for most students means no homework. So we have to do those reading assignments to be able to just have to review before the final, so we won't have to cram everything.
And again, too, like I know we're like going over and over, but consistency with it. And then, like you said, like sometimes you start the quarter with a sense of like, okay, I'm into it. I read the first chapter, I did the first homework, and then your friends start wanting to hang out, and then you get comfortable. So I think just consistency with it, and then keeping trying. Because sometimes you'll actually study or read ahead, but then the day of the quiz you'll forget because you read it a few days ago. So I think just keeping trying new things, blocks of time, reading. I think if you're just persistent with trial, persistent with the material, trial and error, sooner or later, like anything, the more you do it, the better you get it. You figure out your own groove, and it's easy. I mean, at the end of the day, the answers are in the book.
I think the biggest mistake is just like learning the material for the first time when it's time to be tested on it.
Yeah, like getting over that hump. Yeah.
Because a lot of people will stay up all night and learn it the night before, and that's the biggest mistake.
If you could list with you've had so far about 3 or 4 possible solutions, could you list in order with number 1 being priority of like 1 through 4 of like what would be your best solution to your worst solution? You would think.
Yeah.
I would think being consistent. Consistency is probably the
number
best.
1.
Yeah, number one.
Yeah.
Which is the most difficult. To be consistent is probably the most difficult. So I think that's the most important characteristic or attribute that a student needs to have when it comes to studying and keeping on track, keeping on the straight path.
I believe that another really good way would be time management. Because
number 2.
Yeah, number two would be time management, to actually sit down and really think about your schedule and everything that you have to do, especially if you have a job, and write down what times you have available to actually study.
And number 3, controlling distractions, managing distractions, because no matter how much you're committed, you want to, you need to, you should, your parents harp on you, society says you should, the answers in the book, the things you try. At the end of the day, if you're looking at your phone or conscientious of your phone or your email or your Facebook more than anything else, you're not going to do well on it. If you're going to get straight A's, that's a priority thing. Somebody who gets A's, that's their must. That's not like, oh, I should do this, I should. It's their must. It's their standard. It's a fact. Like that comes before my Facebook, my phone, any of that. So I think, turning off your phone, like not just consistent with what you do, but consistent with what you don't, and saying no. Saying no will probably be on that list, because a lot of times you want to do that, but your friend wants to hang out or there's a show on. Saying no, sometimes no. Saying no to something is saying yes to what you're committed to. So I think a healthy balance of,
And I think number 4 is probably staying positive. If you're staying positive, you can, they always say scientifically, if you go into a test positive, you'll do better than someone who goes in negatively, like, oh, I'm going to fail this. If you stay positive throughout the quarter, I think that will improve your chances of getting a better grade in general on all your classes. So
then that kind of leads to controlling stress. Because if you're really just a stressed out person and you're not doing anything to control your stress, and it's very easy to be stressed when you're a college student, then doing something like exercising or whatever it is that works for you, controlling your stress will make it so that you're more positive, and that way you're not freaking out right before you're tested.
And also building like a good routine, like they say that building good habits leads you to build other good habits. For example, I used to smoke cigarettes. And then I started being more active, like physically, and that naturally made me want to stop smoking. I know oftentimes people who got consistent about working out and then got a job. Sometimes people who are so busy end up doing really well because they're in a sense of committing to something and following through. So they build a sense of follow through. I think that's important, and also renewing it every day, like whatever is listening to motivational speakers. I personally listen to Tony Robbins every day, just to plug out there. So yeah, just keeping your mind filled with positive things.
Now that we've covered the possible solutions, to go to our solution section, how would you apply this criteria to a narrow field? How would you apply what you've just listed to your life? How would you enact this? You talked about your problem. You talked about possible solutions. How do you want to enact your 4 plans, which were consistent, time management, controlling distractions, and staying positive?
I would say the first step is to buy a yearly calendar that has specific each week. Like each week is specified by day, and it has time slots. So there's actually calendars that have time slots, so you can manage your time. You can each day you write like a to do list on that calendar of what you're gonna do and stick to that schedule. If you're hanging out with your friends and at 12:30 you said you're gonna study and you're with your friend, you say, okay, I have to go study. Even you just stick to that schedule, be consistent. I think that's the best first step is to get a calendar.
I think that since number one is consistency, I think that like before starting a class, maybe you can read the first chapter so you have like one chapter ahead, and that way it won't be so hard to keep up with it. I think like simply disciplining yourself to just follow the syllabus and keeping up with the material is what makes you consistent.
Probably like as far as controlling distractions or anything like that. Probably just like at least when you start out, since assuming you don't have a healthy discipline, just like the first time you start your homework, like you said, you have the calendar, you read ahead, but just turn off your phone, like straight up, just turn off your phone. At least till you know you have a good grasp of it and engage it. So I guess like self-regulating and like not being afraid to discipline yourself. I think.
Sometimes people, and then like for staying positive, I think that controlling stress is the best thing. And I think I heard that like exercising is just really good. Joining the school gym, like just trying to work out like for an hour a day, I think will help most people stay positive and control their stress.
Also, even if you have to fake it, just tell yourself, I'm gonna pass this. I'm gonna do well. Just have it in your mind to stay like even if it's a fake sense of positivity, just keep that positive. You don't want to have a fake side. You don't have like a false idea of negativity in your brain. So at least make it like positive, even if you're not that positive. Just force your brain, like tell yourself, yeah, I'm gonna pass this test, even if you didn't study at all. Just tell yourself that you're gonna stay positive throughout the quarter. You're gonna stay positive through this test. You're gonna stay positive through the studying. If you stay positive, it'll give you a little motivation. That little motivation might help you start the studying. It might help you start, just the whole process of just passing all your classes.
And ask people, people who are doing well. Just find a mentor, find a friend who graduated who did well, or other students who are doing well. Ask them what their habits are. Ask the teacher who like spent a lot of time reviewing this material. What's the best way to learn? Don't be afraid to ask how to better it. Sometimes people are embarrassed to ask things like that, but you'll never know what you don't ask.
And sometimes the teacher, when they give the test back, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they usually say who the highest person with the highest grade, who is that person. So they usually give like, oh, congratulations, Jonathan, you got a 99. So if you take note of that, you can ask that guy after class or that woman, whoever got the highest grade, how did you study for this test? Learn from them, learn how they got a very high score, see what their habits, how they started the week. When did they start studying? When they heard about the test, when did they start? What was their first step? When you get experience from experienced people, then you'll learn how to be successful.
Now that you guys talked about possible solutions, and you talked about how you would apply these criteria to a narrow field on how to handle this problem, from your guys' discussion now, can you guys together work and come up with a consensus for what would be the best plan for dealing with this problem?
Let's see.
Probably, like you said, like just starting with all of it. It's good that we got it all in our mind too, like as a team. Probably assuming we're starting tomorrow, buy a calendar. Make sure it starts fresh from the new year. Set it up somewhere you see often. Your desk. Even if it's digital, your phone, your binder. You can have multiple ones, and align your syllabus with your calendar so it's all in one place. So you see everything ahead of time. Make sure you have all your books right away. You don't lag on that.
Yep. I was going to say, buy your books early. A lot of the time when people buy their books late, by the time they get their books, sometimes they order it from somewhere, you're already like 2 chapters behind.
Yeah.
If you buy your books early, not only can you read before the class even starts, but you can keep up with the class and really pay attention to the syllabus. I think that like students that don't pay attention to the syllabus and do pay attention to the syllabus, it's completely different.
Together as a group, deciding as one, what do you guys believe would be the one perfect answer or best possible solution?
I would say consistency.
Consistency. Being consistent with every single thing that you do is probably the best thing. Like, with only the good things. Being consistent with the good habits is the best thing. We believe it's the best solution.
Yep. Being consistent with the class. If
being
you're
consistent-
consistent with the class, you will get an A.
Being consistent with your calendar, being consistent with managing your time, being
And
consistent
not
with...
ignoring the class.
And just
ever.
follow the syllabus straight up. Simple
Yeah.
as that.
Yep.
So the main one is being consistent. That's our consistency.
And you-
That's our solution.
And you would implement this plan by.
I think the easiest way to follow the plan would be to follow the syllabus
Follow your calendar.
and be prepared for class to start. And a lot of people don't do that. So that's
Just
it.
make it your Bible. All this talk, all this everything,
Just
it's straight up
really
just to
follow
get
the
you to like
syllabus.
100%. The syllabus is, your Bible, so to speak.
Together as a group, how do you evaluate this discussion and your final answer?
I think that together as a group, we all realize that the syllabus is there for something, and a lot of people ignore that. But it's really a tool that you can use that can make a huge difference in your grade. And if you don't ignore it, then it can give you an A.
And the syllabus also is kind of like a different calendar. It has all the scheduling for your tests. You can kind of plan ahead with the syllabus, and you can, analyze it, see how you can manage your time ahead of time. And,
Yeah, I think just evaluating the whole discussion. I think it's great because sometimes we have these questions or curiosity, but we'll never talk about it, unless we're asked. So all in all, I think just everything we said sort of just makes it clear that that getting an A is really just about putting in the right time and motivation to do it. Like anything.
And I also think we all learn from each other different things that we might have not, have known. Maybe we learned some. Of course, I think we learned some different solutions from each other. And we all did agree on one solution, which was a good group.
Thank you for participating in today's activity. We covered the problem-solving facilitation, the 6-step model from each layer, from problem-solving to possible solutions to one solution to implement and enact. Thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Good ideas, guys.
Thank you. You guys did